Hi, I'm Lara and this is Tropetrinitytrilogy, and today I'll be doing the Would You Rather book tag. So I would like to thank Jessica from JLW Reads for tagging me in this. I really enjoy Jessica's channel and I highly recommend it. I would also like to thank the creator of this tag, Ethereal Theory, for creating it in the first place. Now, I did not prepare answers for this, so this is very on the spot right now. So question number 1, would you rather read a great book with a bad ending or an okay book with a great last few chapters? For me, this really depends. If it's like, I'm trying to think of it, because if the book's mediocre the whole way through, but it sets up that great ending with like an amazing plot twist, then I'd rather have that great ending. But if it's just like the writing sucked the whole way through and then the author learned how to write properly at the end, then I wouldn't be as for it, because it's kind of just like not really that the book was setting up for it as much as the book was just bad and the author got lucky at the end. Whereas I'm like going through the thought process in my head as I pick my answer, so I'm gonna be rambling a bit. A great book with a bad ending, that I'm assuming badly written, because I know some people are like, oh, my favorite character died, that's terrible. But I appreciate books that it's not necessarily if the book gives me what I want as much as the book like doesn't just like become badly written. So I think I would prefer a poorly written book with a great ending, but to be honest, I don't think I'd make it that far. I tried to read a book a while back where the whole first half was terrible, and I just gave up on it. I read in Goodreads, they're like, oh, it sets up something amazing. I'm like, wow, that's cool, but this book is terrible. I don't want to get to that point. So, I mean, I guess I'd rather read a good book with a bad ending, because I'm wasting less of my time on the bad parts because the majority of the book is good. If it's a series though, I'd rather have it have a great ending to set up for the next book. But if it's a standalone, I think I just want the great ending, just because I've read so many books with mediocre endings recently. I want something that blows my mind at the end. I changed my mind. I want a great ending, the rest of the book mediocre. I don't care, but I've not read a really great ending in a while, so I want my mind blown. Number 2, would you rather have good characters or good world building? I think good characters is probably the more important one. Now, I definitely think they're both equally important, and I feel like a lot of writers sacrifice one for the other when in fact they should be building up for each other, because your characters should be a product of their environment. So if your characters are well written but they don't fit the world, then they aren't actually that well written. However, I would pick good characters over a good world as long as the lack of world building doesn't make the plot not make sense. Because usually I won't feel intense about saving the world. It's like, okay, we gotta save this castle from collapsing. It's just a bunch of rocks. I don't care. But if I invested in that princess in that castle, then I will care if that castle collapsed. I don't care about the history of that castle. It's still just a bunch of rocks. But I will care about those people in the castle, and that's what really brings tension to a story. So good characters over good world. However, I will say they're both important, and if you're writing, do not pick one over the other. Number 3. Would you rather have a really likable main character or a really relatable main character? So likable means the character is like nice or kind and traits you find endearing. And I don't actually think characters need to be likable. However, I do think any sense of relatability can bring a character to life. You could have like a psycho killer murderer character, but if they have one thing relatable, that really makes the character more interesting and can help people connect to things they wouldn't normally understand. So I don't want a character that's like trying really hard to be #relatable, because that's obnoxious. I've read books where the author's obsessed with making the character either likable or relatable, which gets annoying. But I think of the two, I would find relatable to be more important. However, I want to stress, making a good relatable character is not about just giving them all traits that a lot of readers can relate to. Oh, they like to read, that's so relatable. It's making about the character. And I find the best relatable characters are actually really individual and distinct and aren't necessarily relatable to everyone, but it's the small quirks that I'm like, I can connect to that. And I feel that the characters that are very individualistic that just happen to have things you have in common with are the best relatable characters, not characters that are so bland and basic, because that's not really as relatable. So relatable over likable. Number 4, would you rather have a perfect fairy tale ending or have a bittersweet ending? Bittersweet ending. I am all about the bittersweet ending. Of the different, especially since I like to read a lot of darker books, so a happy fairy tale ending really doesn't fit. So I want to feel sad some in the book. I want to lose characters I care about. I want to be like, no, why? I want the characters to experience loss to get what they've been working for, so that their achievement feels even sweeter compared to the bitter parts. So I am all about that bittersweet ending. Number 5, would you rather have your lovable sidekick die at the end of the story or turn on your main character at the end of the story? Number 5, would you rather have your lovable sidekick die at the end of the story or turn on your main character at the end of the story? To be honest, I want both of these to happen. They both sound cool. I think if I had to pick though, if it's well set up and well developed, I think turn, just because I feel like that's more unique and less happens less often. I feel like that could be more powerful than just having them die, which is a bit more common in stories. So I would pick turn just because I think it would be more heartbreaking and could lead to a lot of really cool villain moments, and I really like villains that are well developed and fleshed out. So if a sidekick becomes a villain and becomes a good villain, that's potential for an amazing villain, and I would love that. So I think turn on the main character just because there's villain potential in that, and that would be so heartbreaking, and I feel like that sort of like heartbreak would last longer than the character dying, because that would sort of fade away eventually. So yeah, those are my answers to the would you rather tag. Thanks to you, Jessica from JLW Reads, for tagging me, and I know you tagged me in a different video before this, but this one's quicker and I don't have much time to film, so I thought I'd do this one first, and then I would take more time to set up the other ones. So again, thank you for tagging me, and also thank you to everyone who watched this video. When I originally filmed this, I didn't tag anyone because I was just trying to get the filming done before my roommates got back. However, now that I have time, I'm going to add it on to the end. So I tagged Joe Linsdale, Nicole Pierman, The Book Druggie, and Julian Greystoke. I will see you later.